What's going on, guys? Welcome back. And today is a sad day because this is the final part in my Journey to Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore series. So today I am going to be talking about the only film in this series that I've actually talked about before on the channel back when it released, and that is Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald. Now, back then, I absolutely adored this film and claimed that it was better than the first. However, over time, I have come to recognize some of its flaws, but I do not think it is a bad film. In fact, I think it is a rather good film. And to those who say it is an atrocious cinematic disaster, I have this to say to you.
You're crazy.
In regards to what I like about the film, I feel like this goes without saying, but the production value is insanely high, and not just the visual effects, which are of course amazing, but there are a lot of practical environments and beautiful locations on display in this film, which I feel is to be commended. I also love that they actually cast look-alike actors to play the younger versions of characters like Newt and Lita. I think that's great, because if this was a Star Wars or Marvel movie, I guarantee you they would have used some weird CGI face effect. And the score by James Newton Howard is fantastic. It's right up there with John Williams' score for the first 3 Harry Potter films. It feels very unique and like its own entity while also fitting within the wizarding world. I would also like to talk about how a lot of people's complaints about this film really hold no merit whatsoever. One prime example is Jacob Kowalski returning and recalling all of the events that occurred in the previous film despite him having been obliviated. But those people seem to have forgotten about the fact that at the end of the first film, it was very heavily implied that he did remember. He starts baking pastries in the form of magical creatures, and when Queenie shows up at his bakery, he touches the bite mark on his neck that he got from the Murtlap, implying that he is recalling the events that occurred. When Jacob appears in this film, he states that the potion only erased bad memories, and he didn't have any, which is how he remembers. People are saying that that's a lazy way to retcon the events of the first film, but they seem to have completely forgotten about this line.
I've been studying him, and I'm pretty sure that his venom could be quite useful if properly diluted. Just to remove bad memories, you know?
People also complained that Credence being alive in this film doesn't make any sense considering the fact that he died at the end of the previous one, despite the fact that they had obviously shown a tiny bit of his Obscurus escaping. I personally love that J.K. Rowling set up characters like Jacob and Credence returning in a subtle way that didn't talk down to the audience. I don't know why people think that those plot lines were retconned when the seeds had really been planted for them from the very beginning. I feel like we need more blockbusters like the Fantastic Beasts films that treat the audience with respect and trust that they can piece things together on their own without having to be talked down to. It has also been said that McGonagall being in the flashback scenes during this film doesn't make any sense because those scenes take place before she would actually have been born. But in a deleted scene from this film, you can see that she has some sort of chain around her neck, which could very well be a time turner. I'm sure they will elaborate more on this in future films. I don't know why people are complaining about that when if they done their research, they would have found that it's not actually a problem with the film. But the dumbest complaint of all is that it doesn't make any sense how Nagini would turn into a human again in the Deathly Hallows, because as we learn in this film, she is a maledictus, which means she can no longer turn into a human after a certain point in her life. But if you had read the Harry Potter books or even seen the films, you would know that in the Deathly Hallows, Nagini didn't turn back into a human. She was hiding within a different human's skin, that human being Bathilda Bagshot. These people claim they are Harry Potter fans, while they make up problems like this that don't actually exist. And this film does have a lot of nostalgia or fan service, which is something that I typically complain about. And the reason for that is because in a lot of modern films and TV shows, fan service is used as a crutch. Studios nowadays use fan service as collateral to make up for the fact that they've actually put very little effort into developing their stories. They throw a bunch of familiar stuff at the audience to distract them from how bad their writing is. In this film, you see a lot of familiar stuff. You see Hogwarts, Dumbledore, McGonagall, even Nicholas Flamel makes an appearance. But I don't care as much because they have put the effort into developing the story. They did a great job in the first film of acquainting us with this new cast of characters and building up this story. I'm already invested in this story, so when there are moments of fan service, it's only the cherry on top of an already interesting plot. It doesn't feel like I'm being pandered to because they've already put in the work. This film is also not your standard blockbuster, and it's not an accessible film like the first one was. That is because J.K. Rowling approached the screenplay for this film as if it was for a novel. And that's very interesting. It makes for a very unique and different experience, but I don't think that makes it inherently bad, unlike some people, because that means it can actually take its time in developing characters' relationships and motives. Characters like Lita Lestrange or Yusuf Kama, who maybe didn't even exist or were only briefly referenced in the first film, actually have very major stories in this one, which I find very intriguing and compelling. I think it's a very well-paced movie, even though it doesn't have as smooth edges as the first. I never find it to be a dull or boring experience as some people say it is. I also love how at the end of the day, the title Fantastic Beasts comes full circle, because it is the Niffler who is able to steal the Blood Pact away from Grindelwald. At the end of both films, the Fantastic Beasts are the deciding factor in our heroes coming out on top. At the end of the first film, it was Newt and the Swooping Evil that were able to subdue Grindelwald, and although our heroes do not win at the end of this film, it is the Fantastic Beasts that are able to give them a fighting chance. At the end of the film, Newt says,
Grindelwald doesn't seem to understand the nature of things he considers simple.
And I love that, because my favorite message in any story is that
the small things, everyday deeds of ordinary folk that keeps the darkness at bay.
Now, that's about all of the positives out of the way. I don't have any super big gripes with this movie, but it isn't perfect. It does have some problems. For example, the entire opening sequence is very questionable from a logical standpoint. Grindelwald is breaking out of prison while being transported, but he wasn't even in prison because the guy in the carriage is this other guy who he swapped bodies with, but he's going out of his way to go rescue this other guy for no reason. It feels like it's really just an excuse to have the film open on a cool action sequence, and you aren't really meant to question the logic of any of it. And there are a lot of plot lines that are just kind of introduced. For example, this entire prophecy aspect with Credence and how he could possibly be connected to the Lestrange family. It kind of just comes out of the blue. But the Harry Potter series did that a lot as well. It just kind of introduced plot lines later on that didn't exist beforehand, and you're kind of just meant to accept it, so I can't say that that's a problem exclusive to this film. There's also a strange error in the script during the entire sequence towards the end of the film when Lita Lestrange and Yusuf Kama are explaining their backstories, and Lita is talking about how when she and her brother Corvus were being transported to New York City by ship, she swapped her brother with another baby who ended up being Credence, and after this entire sequence concludes, Tina asks Lita if she knew who Credence was when she swapped the babies. But during the entire sequence, Lita never stated out loud that she had swapped the babies. We were shown that happening on screen, but it's not like Lita was showing everyone around her this cool visual that the film is showing us as the audience. So, in context, the characters in the film wouldn't know she had swapped the babies because she never explicitly stated that out loud. It's a very minor detail, but it's always stood out to me on my rewatches of this film. Speaking of Tina, I think I've discovered a strange inconsistency in the rules surrounding the Elder Wand. In Harry Potter, we learn that the Elder Wand does not respond to the person who killed the former owner of it. It instead responds to the person who disarmed the former owner of it. Voldemort has the misconception that the Elder Wand belongs to Snape because he killed Dumbledore. But what he does not realize is that it truly responds to Draco, because Draco disarmed Dumbledore, until Harry disarmed Draco at Malfoy Manor, making him the rightful owner of the Elder Wand. But at the end of Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, Tina disarms Grindelwald of his wand, and while she did disarm him of a different wand that he was using while impersonating Graves, Colin Farrell's character, she should still be the rightful owner of the Elder Wand, because in Harry Potter, Harry disarms Draco of a completely different wand that isn't the Elder Wand, and despite that, it still responds to him. Therefore, the Elder Wand should respond to Tina, because she in some form disarmed the former owner of it. I'm not missing anything, am I? In the final battle of this film, Grindelwald shouldn't have even been able to use the Elder Wand. It should have flown through the air into Tina's hand. If I'm missing anything, you guys please let me know, but I think I've just discovered a huge plot hole. That's about all I have to say about Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald. While I don't think it's a high art film, I also don't think it's a bad or atrocious one either. It's a very good film with many great attributes and some flaws. I don't understand why people complain about us not getting certain explanations for things yet, such as how Credence is a Dumbledore, because it's an ongoing series. It would be lame if we got everything explained to us in one film. It's like if I was to complain about not knowing everything about Harry after Chamber of Secrets, because we're only 2 movies in, and we don't know where everything is going to go for the most part, which is very exciting to me. Speaking of excitement, I cannot wait for The Secrets of Dumbledore. I know in the UK and some other countries it releases on April 8th, but I won't be able to see it until the 15th because it doesn't release until then here in Canada. I'll be seeing it on the 16th, I believe, so be expecting my review for it at some point next weekend. But you guys, please let me know. What are your thoughts on Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Just whatever your thoughts are, please let me know them all in the comments below. And of course, as always, I hope you guys have a great day. Take care.